What's up everyone, my name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. So as the days go by, NIO is becoming one of my absolute favorite spec stocks to keep track of, and one that I might even buy in the future just because of how aggressively they've been expanding the company. Not only is this Chinese EV maker entering international markets, but they're even developing their own smartphone with a yearly release cycle similar to Apple's, and there are reports coming out now that they might even be working on another cheaper sub brand, a third one, with a low starting price tag for their EVs at just around $15,000 for the cheaper mass market, which I think would be absolutely crazy. These are giant moves in my opinion. So in today's video, I'm going to break all of them down. We'll do a quick update on the stock too and how I feel about it trading at today's prices. And I'll even share my thoughts on whether I think Tesla will be making similar moves to that of NIO in the near future. It's going to be a fun one. I hope you guys enjoy this, but let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and just dive straight into this. Okay, so around the start of the year, a bunch of rumors started coming out about NIO developing their own smartphone, and it actually didn't take long for NIO's own CEO to come out and confirm these rumors, saying that they are in fact developing a phone and may even try to create a similar ecosystem of products and services to that of Apple, who we all know does a great job of sucking customers in and getting them hooked on various offerings so that they never leave. And the crazy thing is that the CEO, William Lee, he even mentioned that he believes Apple may be a future competitor because of the growing rumors that Apple is working on an electric vehicle themselves to further expand that growing ecosystem, which I think will be a huge deal for Apple, by the way. I mean, it's actually one of the reasons why I'm personally invested in Apple myself, just because of how insanely profitable they are and the massive cash pile that they're sitting on, that they can use those funds to literally enter practically any market that they want to and bring about even more growth in the future, which I think would heavily benefit them. And when looking specifically at the autonomous driving EV market, I don't think that that's a very easy market to break into, but in Apple's case, I think they're actually a very good fit for it because they already have a super strong brand with a very loyal fan base that is already hooked on their ecosystem. So adding a vehicle as an extension to that ecosystem makes total sense. And I think a lot of those customers would be willing to take a chance on it. And then on top of that, Apple is also known for releasing high quality premium products, which is something that you definitely want in a luxury vehicle. You want high quality, premium high quality, and it will obviously be at a high price tag, but that is something that we've seen Apple customers willing to do. They're willing to spend money for Apple products and services. So I think Apple just makes a great fit here, and I think they could potentially become a pretty big threat to the likes of something like NIO or Tesla. So I would suggest that NIO and Tesla don't wait around and they actually be proactive and prepare for what could potentially come from Apple. And it seems like that's exactly what NIO is doing here. In fact, Lee has stated multiple times that EV users want better phone integration with their vehicles, which is something that Apple would obviously excel at if they ever launched an EV themselves. And as such, Lee was quoted in a recent interview pointing directly to that threat, saying, "Think about it, if by 2025 an Apple model is released and 60% or more of NIO's users are using Apple phones already, then NIO has really no defense at all against that. If NIO doesn't do something today to prepare, it's not going to be fun at that point." And I completely agree with that. I mean, I think he's spot on. You need to be proactive. You need to prepare for these types of things so you don't give these other companies a chance to catch up. You don't want to give them time to catch up to you. You want to be proactive and prepare for that. So I totally agree with him there. And then on top of that, you also had more recently, you had bloggers and local Chinese media pointing to the fact that the NIO phone may be releasing as early as next year. And it's set to sport a candy bar design that is said to be aesthetically attractive and share the same colors as NIO vehicles with greater integration and a cheaper price tag than a flagship iPhone. NIO is also expected to release one flagship phone per year in the same way that Apple does. Which, by the way, if this was Tesla, I know that we'd all be like super skeptical about them meeting that tight release schedule, but one of the things that I've always been impressed on with NIO is how they practically release a brand new vehicle like every year. So if they can do that, then I'm sure they can release a phone too, which I think would be much easier to build a phone than in, an autonomous driving electric vehicle. Anyway, this is all huge news for NIO because it's also on top of their aggressive international expansion plans of entering 25 different markets by 2025, with a large European expansion having already started and future plans of entering the US market as well. And as if all of that wasn't enough, they're even rumored to now also be launching a third sub brand for the mass market. Now, you'll probably recall that NIO has already confirmed in the past that they are working on a second brand that will offer cheaper vehicles priced at around $20,000 to $40,000, similar to how Lexus and Toyota operate. But it's now being reported that a third brand will develop EVs for the lowest tier mass market, starting at only $15,000. That's pretty crazy. Now, this is yet to be officially confirmed by NIO, but no matter how you slice it, it's clear that they plan to offer multiple vehicles at various price points so that they can compete with virtually any EV maker out there. So, what about Tesla though? Where are they in all this? Well, on the cheaper EV front, they've always believed in the single brand approach of offering strictly Tesla branded vehicles at multiple price points. However, the cheaper mass market segment is one that they've always kind of really struggled to break into. Now, for a long time, Tesla did try to sell their Model 3 for as little as like $35,000. I think they even tried to go cheaper at one point, but availability for it would always shift around. And then eventually they just kind of decided to remove it altogether. So right now, the cheapest Model 3 actually starts at a much higher price tag of around $46,000 in the US, which, by the way, a lot of that has to do with inflation, and Musk has repeatedly said that he's very disappointed with how expensive the Tesla vehicles are right now because of the supply chain issues, everything going on with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, it's a very expensive vehicle at the moment. Now, what's interesting though is that at one point, it was confirmed that Tesla was actively working on a $25,000 hatchback that would have been cheaper than the Model 3 and aimed at the lower tier mass market, which many people refer to as the Model 2. However, that never actually materialized, and earlier this year, Musk announced that Tesla is too busy with their other vehicles to work on the cheaper hatchback. On one hand, that's disappointing to hear as a Tesla shareholder because I do think that they need to get that car out as quickly as possible so that competitors don't have an opportunity to release one before them. But on the other hand, it is actually pretty understandable since Tesla has practically been selling every vehicle they can make with consistently record-breaking quarters for sales and deliveries, with this last one being a rare exception due to supply chain issues and other macro effects being felt by the entire market. But my point is that they've just got too many things going on right now, especially with the current development of the new Cybertruck, the Tesla Semi, the robot, autonomous driving, robotaxi service, energy and battery storage, the list goes on. But despite all of this, I actually still suspect that Tesla is working on the cheaper vehicle in the shadows because part 3 of Elon Musk's famous master plan calls for massive scale. And for sure, that's primarily directed at energy and battery because we know that Tesla has strategically been signing a bunch of direct deals with mining and refining companies in order to secure long-term supply of all the different minerals that are in super high demand for battery production. And while I think that that's necessary for just their general capacity, I also think that it's going to be super important for whenever they decide to release a cheaper vehicle in the $20,000 range, because that thing is going to sell like absolute hotcakes, and I think demand is going to be through the roof. So they're going to need huge capacity and scale for it, and I think that's why, one of the reasons why they're ramping up, securing all these deals for all these minerals so that they can increase battery production. I think that's part of it. Now, as far as the Tesla phone goes, that gets a little more tricky though, because there hasn't actually been any official confirmation by either Tesla or Elon Musk himself that we can point to, just like we can with NIO. Instead, with Tesla, it's all been rumors and theories that just kind of keep circulating the web. And what's crazy is that a ton of websites talk about it as if it's confirmed, but really they're just kind of, in my opinion, clickbaiting people because most of the rumors have actually come from YouTube and Twitter, where people have created renders of a Tesla phone, and then they claim it to have all kinds of features and crazy technology like being solar powered, connecting to the internet via Starlink satellites, and even having coverage on Mars while also being able to mine cryptocurrencies. And in my opinion, the reason why all of those features sound way too cool to be true is because they probably are. I mean, I just really don't think that you're going to be seeing that kind of functionality from a smartphone anytime soon. Definitely could happen longer term, but as of right now, I'm not so sure. And when looking at what Elon Musk has to say about some of these rumors, well, he even replied to a Twitter post that was claiming that Tesla was making smartwatches, and he replied to it saying, "Absolutely not. Smartwatches and phones are yesterday's technology. Neuralinks are the future." And I don't know if I agree with him there. I mean, I think phones are not yesterday's technology. I think phones are going to be around, and I think smartwatches too. But anyway, if you don't know anything about Neuralink, by the way, that's the company that Musk founded also, that is working on brain implants that allow you to control things with your mind rather than having to use your actual hands like you would on a smartphone. And I think there's a lot of promise there too. But I still think that smartphones are hugely important, at least for the near future. However, that post though that he replied to, well, that was all the way back in 2020. So it's definitely possible that Musk has changed his mind on smartphones since then, and maybe he's planning to make a phone now, given the rising competition in the space and what other companies like NIO and possibly Apple are doing too. But at this point, there's just not enough credible evidence to say one way or the other that Tesla is for sure working on a smartphone. It doesn't look like they are. As an investor, I'm personally hoping that they are, and I think that they should heavily consider it in the future because I think it would widen Tesla's moat. I think it would make their business a bit stickier, similar to that of Apple's, and I think it would be the smart thing to do. But that's just my opinion. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. Again, all of this is speculation, but I'll be sure to keep you guys updated if anything changes. With all of that said, though, how are the stocks themselves doing? After all, this is a stock market related channel. So let me just give you guys a quick update on both of the two stocks, NIO and Tesla. I'll share my quick thoughts on where they are right now, and then we'll wrap up the video. Okay, so in NIO's case, the stock has been super volatile in recent months, with just the past year alone seeing a low of $11 a share and a high of $46. Right now, though, it sits at about $20 after having rebounded by over 70% from those lows, likely due to all the expansion that they've been doing. However, even after that recovery, they are still down by over half of their entire value, likely because of the horrible macroeconomy as well as rising competition, and maybe a couple other things here and there too. The good thing about that though is that the valuation is actually pretty cheap now at a PS ratio of only around 5. That's not only significantly lower than the nearly 20 it was about a year ago, but it's also been falling fast because of their very high sales growth of 65% expected this year, which accelerates to even more at 75% next year as well. On top of that, the stock is also trading significantly lower than even the lowest analyst price targets, most of which, by the way, have been giving NIO a ton of buy ratings in recent months. Tesla, on the other hand, is similar in some ways but very different in others. Their stock over the past year has also been very volatile, rebounding by over 40% from their lows, but still trading about 30% lower than their highs. Valuation wise though, Tesla's stock looks super expensive on the surface with some really high PE and PS ratios, but where they really shine is in future profit growth, as is evident in their price to earnings to growth ratio that sits at a much more reasonable around 2. That's not only less than half of what it used to be a year ago, but it's also being boosted by their nearly 50% profit growth expected on average over the next 5 years. That's already pretty impressive on its own, but even more so with how much they're ramping up in China and in Europe. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually grow that rate at a much higher clip in the future too. Last year, for example, they had revenue growth of over 70% with net income growth of a mind-blowing 700% with record-breaking deliveries. And that was during a horrible macro environment with all kinds of supply chain issues and pandemic issues and all kinds of things going on, as well as them already being by far the largest market share leader at about 3/4 of the entire US EV market alone, and yet they were still growing by that high rate. Now, granted, the huge growth was also because their profits were already very small the prior year, but with the huge vehicle margins that they've been seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see large expansions to their bottom line with growing scale, because as it stands, Tesla has a vehicle margin of over 30%, while NIO is at 18% and Ford is incredibly lower at just 6%. Unfortunately, the macroeconomy is weighing on Tesla, so sales are expected to slow down to only around 50% growth over the next couple years, and as such, analysts have been much more bearish on it lately because of the really high valuation, as the average price target that they have is sitting right next to its current share price for Tesla stock. But I still think that there's enough growth to come from things like the robotaxi service, autonomous driving, the Cybertruck, the semi, logistics, what else? Energy, battery storage. I mean, there's so many different things that Tesla is doing and that they can still do potentially, like releasing a cheaper EV, maybe going into the smartphone business as well, that I think in the end you could be left here with a market leader that is also very profitable and experiences a lot of high growth profits. And that's something that is very attractive. And it's why I invest in Tesla myself. NIO, on the other hand, is a bit different. They're the smaller, more speculative player, but they're very aggressive. They're expanding. They are very innovative. Battery swap technology. You're talking almost a new vehicle like every year. They plan to release a new smartphone every year. I mean, they're very ambitious. And so getting the sort of Chinese version of that Tesla innovation and ambition is something that is very attractive to me. However, profit-wise, I don't think you're going to see a lot of profits from NIO for some time. With how aggressively they're trying to expand, they're going to need to reinvest practically all of that cash flow right back into the business, at least for now. So it's going to be riskier. It's going to be more speculative. But as far as a high risk spec stock goes, I think they're one of the most attractive out there, especially if you're looking for something in the autonomous driving EV market. For me though, Tesla is already my second largest stock and I'm up like over 1800% on that position. So if anything, I'm more so in the position where I feel like I'm maybe a little overly exposed to that market. And if anything, I think I'd might even consider selling some Tesla stock just a little bit to kind of lock in some profits, lower my exposure a little bit. I don't really like Tesla being the second largest in my portfolio. I'd like that to come down to a little bit, maybe like fifth largest. That's where I'd feel more comfortable. But also with NIO, I already have so much in Tesla, but I kind of want a little bit of NIO. If NIO stock was to fall down to like the mid single digits, I think I might actually want to buy a little bit of NIO, but it would just be a very small speculative position for the future. But like I said, as of right now, I'm actually feeling a little overly exposed to the EV market, which I'm a little concerned about because I think that there is a lot of rising competition that will be entering the market here soon. And Tesla stock is priced a little expensive in my opinion, so I'm just not really looking to add a lot more at this time. But that's just me. Sorry about that. Those are just my feelings. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you invested in Tesla or NIO? Do you think I should be buying NIO stock? Should I be holding? What are your opinions? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you doing yourselves? And I'll try to respond to as many comments as I can. But thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.